Is it time for a changing of the guard in the heart of the Saints' defense? We all know the definition of solid, but in the high-stakes world of the NFL, is steady enough to keep the starting job? A massive contract extension has been signed, yet the pressure is mounting from a rising talent waiting in the wings. With a veteran defensive leader now out of the picture, the spotlight is burning brighter than ever on our starting linebacker. Can he elevate his game, or will he be forced to share the load? Hit that like button, subscribe, and comment below. The Saints organization has solidified their defensive core by locking in linebacker Pete Werner with a 3-year, $25 million contract that extends through the 2026 season and carries into 2027. This decision highlights the team's commitment to a player who has become synonymous with consistency. Since joining the squad in 2021 after a standout career at Ohio State, Werner has proven to be a reliable fixture in the middle of the defensive formation. Over the past 4 seasons, he has maintained a steady statistical production, recording tackle totals ranging from 80 to 93 in each campaign, appearing in 73 games for an average of 14.6 games per season. Werner is widely viewed as a dependable presence who avoids flashiness in favor of fundamental execution. He is not just a role player, he is a veteran who understands the system and serves as a primary option for the coaching staff. As the Saints look toward the upcoming season, the security provided by this extension confirms that the front office values his durability and his capacity to perform his duties without the need for constant adjustment. Fans who echo the famous "Who Dat" chant know exactly what to expect when he steps onto the field. A player who arrives on time and puts his body on the line to stop the run. While some might have hoped for him to transcend his current level of play, the reality is that the team has identified him as a cornerstone. His career arc has been defined by a reliable, predictable output that keeps the defense organized and functional. By securing his services for the foreseeable future, the franchise is prioritizing stability in a position that requires deep knowledge of opposing offensive tendencies and rapid diagnostic abilities during high-pressure defensive stands. Why does this matter right now for the Saints? With the departure of the legendary leader Demario Davis to the Jets, the defensive unit faces a significant void in terms of field generalship and veteran presence. For the entirety of his professional career, Pete Werner worked closely under the guidance of Davis, absorbing the nuances of professional preparation and on-field communication from one of the most respected captains in the league. The transition to a new defensive dynamic is the most critical story of the offseason. While the team has brought in Caden Ellis to bolster the linebacker room, the absence of Davis fundamentally changes how the defense operates on a snap-by-snap basis. Werner is now entering a new phase where he must leverage his own experience to fill the gap left by his former mentor. In Brandon Staley's defensive scheme, the middle linebacker is the heartbeat of the operation, particularly when it comes to stuffing the run. The ability to read the offense and close gaps effectively is non-negotiable. Werner has shown he can move tackle to tackle, but the scrutiny on his performance will be heightened as he steps out of the shadow of a longtime captain. The Saints are banking on his experience and his high football IQ to maintain the standard of play they require. This is not just about the contract, it is about the evolution of the defense. Can he translate those steady numbers into the leadership role that the locker room demands? The expectation is that he will anchor the unit, providing the same reliability that has defined his career, while potentially stepping into a more prominent communication role. The importance of this shift cannot be overstated as the team prepares to test its defensive resilience in a post-Davis era. Behind the scenes of this contract extension, an interesting dynamic is brewing with last year's 4th-round draft pick, Danny Stutzman. The presence of a younger, hungry player on his heels adds a layer of internal competition to the training camp environment. While Werner enters the 2026 season as the clear-cut starter at middle linebacker, the coaching staff has already shown a willingness to deploy both of them in specific defensive packages. This usage creates a tactical versatility that could be key for Staley's plans. However, the core question remains whether Stutzman will see his snap counts rise significantly at the expense of his veteran teammate. Werner has built his reputation on his run-stuffing ability and his capacity to play multiple positions, which might ultimately allow for more creative personnel groupings where both players share the field. Last year, Werner recorded 81 total tackles, including 50 solo stops, and showed growth in areas like fumble recoveries and sack production, proving he can contribute in ways that don't just involve routine tackles. Despite a slight dip in total tackle volume compared to previous years, his performance was deemed sufficient by the front office, leading to the decision to keep the roster mostly consistent, rather than overhaul the defense through massive free agent acquisitions. The organization is betting that the combination of Werner's institutional knowledge and his ability to adapt to different roles will stabilize the middle of the field. This continuity is a double-edged sword. It provides comfort in a known quantity, but also places immense pressure on the player to prove that he remains the most effective option to anchor the defense, especially as the competition for meaningful playing time intensifies throughout the heat of the summer preparation sessions. Pete Werner's journey to this point has been defined by his ability to read opposing offenses and execute assignments with disciplined focus. Born in Indianapolis and a product of Cathedral High School, he has been a high-level prospect for a long time. His pedigree, including being a two-time All-Big Ten selection at Ohio State, provided the foundation for his professional technical skills. His father, Greg, who played both football and baseball at DePauw University and spent time in the NFL with the Philadelphia Eagles and the New York Jets, instilled in him a professional standard that remains evident in his work ethic today. This background is critical to understanding why the Saints feel confident in his longevity. He possesses the fundamental technical skills required for an NFL linebacker, the ability to diagnose a play, recognize a gap, and execute a wrap-up tackle. However, the analysis of his play style reveals clear areas where growth is necessary. While he thrives in run defense and is capable of covering short distances laterally, he has faced challenges in pass coverage when tasked with matching up against athletic opposing tight ends. Finding himself out of position in those scenarios has been an area of concern that opponents have exploited in the past. To maintain his status as a long-term answer, he must refine his coverage awareness. The transition under defensive coordinator Brandon Staley is supposed to emphasize his strengths while mitigating these coverage liabilities. If he can leverage his experience and the continuity of the coaching staff to improve his spatial awareness in the secondary, his overall impact will increase significantly, justifying the long-term investment the franchise has made in his future and silencing any lingering doubts about his ceiling as a professional. Looking at the road ahead in 2026, the success of the Saints' defense hinges largely on the performance of the middle linebacker position. With the deal now finalized, the narrative shifts from contract status to on-field production. Pete Werner must prove that he can be more than just a solid player. He must become the glue that holds a transitioning defensive unit together. The expectations are clear. He must continue to excel at stuffing the run, show improvement in his coverage assignments, and step into the communication void created by the departure of veteran leaders. The lack of significant defensive upgrades through the draft or free agency places a heavy burden of responsibility on him to elevate his game under Staley's second season at the helm. If he maintains his health and demonstrates the leadership qualities required, he will justify the team's decision to entrust him with the defense for the next 3 years. If he struggles, the looming presence of players like Danny Stutzman will grow, creating a potential situation where the rotation could change mid-season. The front office has made their choice, demonstrating a high degree of confidence in his consistency and his ability to anchor a defense that needs to prove its worth against a challenging schedule. Every tackle and every diagnostic call he makes will be evaluated through the lens of this new contract. He is now at the age of 27, firmly in the prime of his professional career, and the time for development has transitioned into the time for peak production. For the Saints, the future of the middle of their defense is now inextricably tied to his success, making every snap this season a crucial test of his capabilities.